these crises can take a year or longer to play out. So if we're at the early stages of one, the banking crisis in particular, don't think that just because they cleaned up Credit Suisse and four other banks, that it's over. It's just, there'll be another major bank crash sooner than later. It's coming.
This crash that people have been talking about, this epic crash in the markets that a lot of people have talked about for many, many years, is this something you see happening anytime soon? And what would trigger something like that?
Well, I do see it happening. And when people say, well, myself, but other analysts as well, because you're hearing the same thing from, Stan Druckenmiller, Jeremy Grantham, and there's some pretty big voices out there. And I'll include my voice saying the same thing. I do see a severe stock market crash. But bear in mind, it's like earthquake science and seismology. There's nothing in seismology that can predict exactly when an earthquake will come. But there are a lot of warning signs. Now, in March 2020, during the original first wave of the COVID pandemic, U.S. stocks went down 30%. I mean, they just did. Between October 1st, 2018, and Christmas Eve, what I call the Christmas Eve massacre, between October 1st and December 24th, 2018, stocks fell 20%. And they were down, the NASDAQ from peak to trough, starting in November 2021 through late 2022, it was down 30%. So we have seen these 20 and 30% dives. Now the markets have come back. They're not anywhere near their all-time highs, by the way. So from the all-time high for the S&P and the Dow Jones was January 1st, basically the first business day of January 2022. NASDAQ all-time high was November 2021. They are nowhere near those all-time highs. Now there's been volatility. They've come down. They've come back. So if you focus on the rallies or listen to CNBC, stocks or whatever. Yeah, that's true. And if you're a super genius and you can buy every low and sell every high, good for you. Easier said than done. But the point being, the trend is still down. The 2-year trend is down. They're nowhere near the all-time highs. We'll see what happens tomorrow. Who knows? But my point being, these are your warnings. These are your little earthquakes before the big one. And the thing that strikes me, and maybe I'm a magnet for trouble, but I have a long history with financial crises. I mean, in the 1960s, there was a pop star. She was very talented, Mick Jagger's girlfriend, named Unfaithful, and her famous quote about the 60s was, "If I wasn't there, it didn't happen." And I think that's a good one. And I kind of apply that to myself in terms of financial crisis. I go back to the 1974 collapse of the Bank, which is a whole foreign exchange debacle, but through the early 80s, the Latin American debt crisis, the S&L crisis, 1987 flash crash down 21% in one day, not a month, but one day. 1994 tequila crisis, 1998 Russia-Asia long-term capital management. I negotiated that bailout, so I had front row seat on that. The dot-com crash, 2007 mortgages, 2008 everything, 2020 COVID. As I said, the stock market went down 30%. So I've seen the run of financial crises. And two things. Number one, they don't play out overnight. They can come to a crescendo. It can be September 15th, 2008, Lehman Brothers files for bankruptcy on a Sunday night, markets fall apart. You can have those critical turning points, but that crisis actually started in the spring of 2007 when HSBC announced earnings below expectations based on mortgage losses. Well, there was your warning sign right there. A year, 15 months before. The 1998 Russia long-term capital management acute crisis started in June 1997 in Thailand when there was a run on the country and they imposed exchange controls. And then that spread through Malaysia, Indonesia, South Korea, finally made its way to Russia, and everyone expected Brazil to be next, and up popped a hedge fund in Greenwich, Connecticut. But the point is, these crises can take a year or longer to play out. So if we're at the early stages of one, the banking crisis in particular, don't think that just because they cleaned up Credit Suisse and four other banks, that it's over. It's just, there'll be another major bank crash sooner than later. It's coming. So the point is, we have seen a series of many, not so many, 20, 30% crashes with a bounce back. We're not back to the all-time highs. We're in a downtrend that continues, and I would expect another acute stage sooner than later. This is not over. I think this is the best advice I could give.